There used to be a king in a faraway country who had 3 sons. All 3 were very intelligent and equal in all sciences and arts. Be it archery, the essence of swordsmanship, they knew all the nuances of war. The princes had become young. The king wanted them to be married, but it was becoming very difficult to find 3 princesses who were identical in every way. Therefore, the king called the minister and spoke his heart to him. The minister asked for 2 days' time. On the 3rd day, he came to the palace and informed the king of his opinion and said, "Send them to the forest with me. I will do something." The 3 princes went to the forest with the minister. Going to a tree there, the minister said, "You 3 shoot arrows from your bow. A marriage message will be sent to the princess of the country to which it will go." The 3 princes left with arrows in their bows. The elder son's arrow was traced to a huge Turkish state. The second son's arrow was traced to a huge Turkish state. The second son's arrow was found towards the Deccan state. The arrow shot by the 3rd son was found near a monkey sitting on a tree. She was taken off the tree, and it was decided that the younger son will be married to this monkey. The prince was very sad and ashamed, but earlier, children did not avoid their parents' orders. That is why he remained silent. The marriages of all the princes took place with great fanfare. The princesses of both countries came to the palace. But on the wish of the 3rd youngest prince, a separate palace was arranged. Both the great princes started living happily with their queens. But the youngest prince had a monkey in the name of the bride. He was very worried and shy. One day the king and queen said that they want to see their daughter-in-law's skills. For this they were given handkerchiefs to wove. Both the daughters-in-law started to make flowers on handkerchiefs with hard work to show their skills. The youngest prince was very embarrassed. But when Monkey asked him, he told this. Monkey asked the prince to bring the handkerchief. When everyone's handkerchiefs got ready, there was no end to the surprise of the king and queen. The most beautiful embroidery was done by the youngest prince's wife, while she was a monkey. A few days later, the king and queen said that they wanted to eat food made by their daughters-in-law. Both daughters-in-law started preparing, but the youngest prince became depressed. Monkey said, "No problem, I will cook. You will send." The cooked food of all the princesses was placed on the throne. Both brides' dishes were highly appreciated. When the 3rd dish was opened, the entire hall was filled with fragrance. The food was so beautiful and colorful that everyone's eyes were locked on it. When the king and queen ate that food, they did not stop praising. The tastiest and most delicately prepared food was that of youngest princess, which was Monkey. The queen and the king longed to see all the brides together once more. The youngest prince cried at this. Everything was fine till the food and napkin, but how will this monkey go among these most beautiful princesses? When asked by Monkey, the prince told the whole story. Youngest daughter-in-law comforted and said, "The condition is that you will not go there. I will go alone sitting in the carriage." The prince was already embarrassed and agreed. First came the eldest bride. She was a very beautiful girl. She was looking very beautiful in a pink dress. The middle bride wore a green dress and was adorned with many jewels. Then the youngest bride was taken off the carriage. The ankle bracelets on her fair white feet sparkled, and when she lifted the cloak, the queen and the king were surprised to see her. Bowed and saluted the form of a jewel deep red. Glitter was shining in her hair. Pink face, beautiful lips and body, she looks like a flower bud. The 3 daughters-in-law were together. The entire palace was illuminated by the light of the little bride's face. Everyone was looking at him in surprise. Suddenly someone brought the news to the little prince that his bride was like a fairy. The prince broke the condition and came to see her in hiding. And then he got back to his palace sitting on a horse, not going to his bride's room. He saw that the monkey's skin had been kept aside. He immediately picked up the skin and set it on fire with a torch. On the other hand, the young bride suddenly felt very helpless. Her feet were scorched from the ankle bracelets. She asked permission and sat in the carriage. Gradually the fire started burning. By the time carriage reached the palace, she was quite burnt. She ran into the room and pulled her burning skin from the prince's hand. But most of the skin was burnt, and she too was badly burned. She fell on the ground and began to cry. The prince was terrified. The royal physician was called. Everyone tried treatment, but the irritation did not subside. Doctors from other countries also came but could not reduce her irritation. The prince was very embarrassed and worried. Physicians from all over the kingdom had come and various remedies were being prescribed, but the irritation was not reducing in any way. The prince was strolling restlessly and was very ashamed of burning the skin. He strolled into the palace garden. His desperation was not abating. He stood leaning against a big tree. Two birds were talking to each other on the branch of this tree, and one was saying that she is not a monkey but a princess of fairyland. She has received such a big punishment for her small mistake. But what mistake did she make that she was made a monkey? Asked the other bird. People of fairyland do not like to come into the world. People here keep fighting and quarreling, therefore none of the devotees are allowed to enter this world. But this princess could not give importance to this matter due to her young age and lack of understanding, and came into the world. So she was made a monkey so that she could never return to fairyland. But what will happen now? There is no cure for this burning. There is a cure. If the fruit of this tree is applied to wounds, it can heal. The people of the world buy expensive medicine, but they do not appreciate the plants, in which there is medicine for every disease. The prince thanked the sparrows. After picking the fruits of the tree, he returned to the palace, and despite the presence of an army of servants, he prepared an ointment from the fruit pulp with his own hands and applied it to the wounds of his bride. Amazingly, the wounds began to heal, and within 2 days she was fine, but she was very quiet. That evening, when the prince was sitting in a chair near her bed, the door opened and the king and queen of fairyland entered. The room began to glow with their light. Princess quickly got up and sat at their feet, crying and begging for forgiveness. Fairy King said, "Daughter, you have suffered a lot. Now your mistake is forgiven." Fairy Queen also loved her daughter and stroked the prince's head. The king of fairyland offered prayers to the prince. Said that if he wants, he can go to fairyland and live there. He will not suffer there. But the prince refused the facility and said that he wanted to stay here in this country and serve his parents. The king of fairyland was very happy with this and filled the palace with many goods of fairyland. The king and queen went back to fairyland. The prince and his bride began to live happily ever after.